Shane Hannon, good morning to you. You're live from the Crucible.
Ger, Nathan, I'm feeling very, 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 very smug this morning because I'm sitting in a pretty special place. This is like how Nathan felt at Augusta, I think.
I
Looks like you're on a rooftop, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought you were doing your GMAC
Let's do it.
impersonation. Oh, you're actually. Oh, yeah, okay.
We've got a selfie stick. So this is of course the now infamous table where the orange powder was.
Security's obviously still quite lax at the Crucible.
It's I'm probably the first person to have a selfie stick in this room, but it's the only way I can show you everything, and there's a lot to show you. So we'll do a little walk around. I'm sure you've been watching the snooker and keeping on top of it all, have you?
Yeah, watching John Higgins last night.
This is the very seat where Higgins.
Nothing that ages you as much as watching snooker and going, John Higgins is. I remember watching John Higgins when I was actually a kid. And there he is, still at the top of his game.
He's even older than you.
For our podcast listeners, tell us what we're seeing.
Yeah, so we're essentially on the Crucible floor here at the moment. So you've got it's basically just myself and the Hoover in the Crucible at the moment. So you've got table 1 behind me here, where Ronnie O'Sullivan was playing the other day, and of course the orange powder incident happened. Robert Milkins and C. Xiaoyi's names still on the seats there last night. And table 2 over here, where, as you were saying, Nathan, John Higgins was victorious and imperious in his win over Karen Wilson. Like, you wouldn't back against John Higgins going all the way now. This is the thing. The draws kind of open up a little bit for Ronnie O'Sullivan, and on the other side, I'd have to say, he's got Luca Bracel in the quarterfinals next, and Luca Bracel's a player who hasn't really been at this stage of the Crucible before the World Championship, so I'm not going to back against Ronnie O'Sullivan. I don't think anyone is. But to just be standing down here, like, I get chills every time I walk in and I'm taking a seat, but to be down on this, like, this is the exact place where, you know, Ken Doherty won that World Championship in '97, and Alex Higgins stood literally right here when he was holding back the tears, hugging his child in '82. You know, it's the room where Ronnie O'Sullivan had that 5-minute 20-second maximum. There's just so much history. So I'm slagging Nathan a little bit last week in the office, going, Jesus, the man won't stop talking about Augusta. But when you're in a sporting theatre, literally like this, and you think of all the history that it's been here, it's a privilege and an honour to be here, to be honest.
The one thing they don't do at Augusta is block off half the history for you when you're in attendance. I do wonder this when I'm watching on TV. So obviously the two tables are beside each other and they put down the screen in between. As a viewing experience, how that works, because, and even for the players, when you're hearing the cheers from the other table and the applause just as they're about to go, what's that dynamic like?
Strange one. Yeah, because there are even certain seats, like you see some of the seats behind me here. So the divider, I don't know if you'll be able to see the divider if I pull it up. It's mainly just lights to see, but the divider is above me. So there's some seats that would essentially be able to see both tables, which I'm sure is a little bit off-putting. But and sometimes the claps do maybe put off the other table a little bit, but I think it's better this way. You know, there's nothing like the Crucible when it gets to the one table setup. So from the semi-finals onwards, there's just the one table, and it's cavernous. Like it's quite tight with the two tables. Like you see, there's not much room here between the. Try and stand between them. There's only a couple of meters at most between the two tables.
Yeah.
But a lot of players kind of give out about that, and even John Higgins, when he started playing at the Crucible, he hated it. I think his first game at the Crucible when he was younger, a teenager, was a 10-3 defeat, and he said it was too tight and he hated it. And he grew to love it, became a 4-time world champion. And I think that's the thing about the Crucible. Once you get used to the venue, to the experience, to the tight spaces as well, I mean, there's no stopping you. Ronnie O'Sullivan's going for a record 8th title as well this year, so it's I would say as a viewing experience, it's up there with anything I've ever been at. Like, I've bumped into a lot of Irish people over here this weekend as well, and there's only 900 seats, I think, so they could probably fill a theatre that's much bigger. But to be honest, the Crucible Theatre, the history that's here, Sheffield as well is a brilliant city to host it. I don't think they could ever move it out of here.
I was going to ask about the capacity. It doesn't look that big, and 900 is intimate.
For sure, and you can kind of sense that as well. Like when the players come out, even yesterday, and this kind of it leads into the viewing experience question as well. Karen Wilson was clearly playing terribly against John Higgins yesterday in that 13-2 defeat. But there were little moments where you could hear his cue. You're so close to the action that you could hear a ping off his cue, which was indicating that there was something wrong with the wood. I mean, Ken Doherty has spoken very, very well about this, and some people might see it as a boring conversation, but wood is clearly a living thing. It's not like these cues are made of carbon or graphite or something else. So if something goes wrong with the cue, there's nothing they can do. It's like Stephen Hendry lost his cue, or had his cue damaged on an airplane years ago, and was never the same player afterwards. But being so close to the action, you can hear little things like that, and the reaction from Kyron as he's banging his cue on the ground. These are things you don't pick up on television, maybe. So,
is wood a living thing when it's turned into a cue? I would have thought it's no longer a living thing by then.
The wand shop in Harry Potter, like picking up your first cue is a pretty special moment, Nathan. It's like a golf club, you know. It's one of those things. But just being this close, like literally, this is the front row, and I mean,
get up on the table, Shane. Get up on the table.
The temptation is real. You've obviously covered it for me. They knew I was coming. No green powder or any other colour with me this morning. The security has actually been ramped up fairly significantly as well.
Clearly not.
I was going to say, I mean, look, I think everybody's wondering, how did you, what, how did you, like, do you have permission to be there?
I do. World Snooker were very, very kind to me. Rob Marsh is actually behind me. He's one of the security guys who's let me in. They're brilliant. Like, I have to say, their relationship with the media as well, World Snooker, is second to none, and that's probably because it's one of those sports that just isn't at the level that it was in terms of interest in the 1980s. So it's they've been very good to me, Ger, and I'm literally
blink twice if they can't hear you, Shane. Blink. Okay. World Snooker are amazing. We love them.
People.
Thank you.
Are they going to let you play? That's what I want.
I don't even want to touch the table. It's one of those things. I literally, like, even if they said, "Oh, you can touch it there," and not a chance. Greasy hands. There's no need to go near it.
All right.
But
you can watch
be this
them.
close is a special privilege.
Shane, good stuff. Thanks a million. Enjoy the rest of your time in Sheffield. Is he there for the whole thing?
No, I think he's back
before the final
Wednesday.
Right.